Hey everyone, and welcome! A lot of you have been asking for our thoughts on why Nintendo didn't celebrate Zelda's 35th anniversary like they did with Mario's. This is actually one of the most frequent questions we receive. But if we take a look at absolutely everything Nintendo has revealed or announced for Zelda this year, it kind of looks like they actually did have a lot planned, but for whatever reason, instead of announcing it all in one big Zelda 35th anniversary direct, they slowly spread it out over the course of the year, and we may still have a lot more coming, such as the new details on Breath of the Wild 2 Nintendo stated would be coming this year. If we look back at the first hints of a Zelda Direct, it received the exact same listings and trademark filings as Mario did when fans found evidence of an upcoming Mario anniversary celebration. Leading into the beginning of 2021, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity had just released, and aside from Breath of the Wild 2, nothing else was announced. Early in the year, however, we began seeing more and more trademarks being filed. In February, we received the first big selection of Zelda announcements: 2 DLC packs for Age of Calamity, Guardians of Remembrance, and Pulse of the Ancients with releases in June and November. Skyward Sword HD was announced with its limited edition Joy-Cons for release in July. Around this time, we were contacted by Nintendo and Amazon for an event they were doing in July to celebrate Skyward Sword HD and the Zelda series as a whole. Coming off of the Majora's Mask statue, First 4 Figures announced the release of a full collection of statues for each of the 4 Breath of the Wild champions. In May, Nintendo revealed more details on Skyward Sword and announced the new Loftwing amiibo and gave new trailers for the game and the first pack of DLC for Age of Calamity. In June, for E3, Nintendo gave more trailers for Age of Calamity, a new Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, and a new Zelda Game & Watch containing Zelda 1, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, and Link's Awakening. In September, Nintendo revealed a collector's edition of Skyward Sword HD with a 5-disc soundtrack that celebrates not just Skyward Sword, but the full 35 years of the Zelda series, along with a music box that plays the Ballad of the Goddess. They also released downscaled versions of their anniversary statues at Nintendo's World Stores, with leaks of a Zelda section being made for the Nintendo theme parks. At various times throughout the year, Nintendo released various official shirts, jackets, Zelda-themed controllers, Switch cases, and other accessories or merch. Curiously, Nintendo partnered with GameStop to not just release a Skyward Sword poster with Skyward Sword HD pre-orders, but released a new updated Zelda anniversary poster that celebrates not just Skyward Sword, but the Zelda series as a whole. To get it, you needed to purchase at least $35 of Zelda games, clothes, hardware, accessories, or any other Zelda-related product. $35. Is that just a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. The Nintendo Direct on September 24th featured multiple big Zelda announcements, starting with the second Age of Calamity DLC pack, Guardian of Remembrance, giving us details on several new characters, locations, weapons, abilities, attacks, armor, enemies, the new story, and more. Then stating that even more characters, locations, and everything else will be revealed at a later date. As Nintendo is known to usually delay Zelda games, they did just the opposite by releasing the new DLC almost a full month sooner than its original release date. Later on during the Direct, Nintendo confirmed a lot of the big rumors that came out this year, revealing that Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask will be releasing alongside many other N64 games coming to Nintendo Switch's online service. Not only that, but just as with the NES and SNES games, the multiplayer N64 games will also be updated to allow online multiplayer. They even announced new wireless N64 controllers. This potentially means we could also be seeing the original Super Smash Bros. In the future, which would also receive online multiplayer support. Some others believe just as the NES and SNES had different versions of Zelda 1 and 2, being the original NES versions, the enhanced disc versions for Japan, and a heavily updated Living the Life of Luxury versions of the games, Nintendo will also release the Nintendo 64 version of Ocarina of Time's Master Quest. But that isn't all. We still have more Zelda announcements confirmed to be coming even for Breath of the Wild 2. As of writing this, we know we will receive several more trailers and details on unannounced new characters, locations, and everything else in Age of Calamity's second DLC. We also will have more trailers for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask as part of the N64 Switch promotion. December will have the Game Awards, which Nintendo has almost always had multiple reveals at every year, including the reveal of Breath of the Wild's Champion Ballad DLC, new Smash Bros. DLC, and trailers for many unannounced Nintendo games. Fans are hoping that Nintendo will release another trailer or at least more details on their most anticipated game, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, as they did state more details would come this year. Similar to the music box set being held until the end of the year, the Loftwing amiibo reveal being held till April, instead of being announced alongside the original reveal of Skyward Sword HD and the Joy-Cons in February, or the first 4 Figures Champion Series figures announcement being held till April, we don't know what else Nintendo could also be keeping a secret to reveal in 2022. Just as with any major release, Breath of the Wild 2 will more than likely have its own pre-order bonuses and possibly even amiibo, DLC, and other things. We also know Grezzo is working on their own new Zelda game, possibly even 2. Monolith Soft is confirmed to be working on their own Zelda project, possibly Breath of the Wild 2, but some think they are developing their own Zelda game. So the announcements of what those Zelda projects are, along with the other teams working on Zelda games, could come at almost any time. Because this was all withheld, saved, or spread out over the course of the year, people felt Nintendo just forgot about Zelda. However, it is all more than enough to have made a good-sized Zelda 35th Anniversary Direct to please fans. Just as with Mario's Anniversary Direct, we think Nintendo did actually have this and other announcements planned. However, whether due to the pandemic or other reasons, it seems a lot of the announcements had to be delayed. So, Nintendo had 3 or 4 Zelda announcements during the first Direct, a couple of announcements leading up to E3, a few reveals during E3, several reveals in the September Direct, many smaller releases spread throughout the year, and whatever else they may have coming.
And of course, I want to give a huge thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who give us video ideas like this, some of our Zelda theory, top 10 list, and discussion topics that we discuss on our podcast or other videos. If you would like a shout out at the end of all of our videos, or the beginning of our podcast, the Hylian Gamescast, as well as any of the other benefits mentioned. So thank you Jon Snow, ZAIN, FRAN, WIGGLYWIGGLE, NORNARB or Brandon, SOBERX, Mr. MONOCLED, METROID, Jen, SuperNX64, David, Zoe, Natsu, Jessie, ANDREMOI, Ashton, Justin, Candy, Chad, BKRS7, Larulian Sheep, Largnar, Monica, Shadow to Us, Rusty, Lovable Christy, Henry, and of course, Gus.